Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. As Brother Raya want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that go out there and labor on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. And the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprises, the uproars, they out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand and wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, that actually sincerely reverence their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts for our foremothers, on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf that are not married as of yet, but building themselves up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, abstaining from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, making their body living sacrifice, magnifying the Most High, right in the ministry. Right, it's going to be an in-depth breakdown on Revelation, the 9th chapter, right, and the angel over the bottomless pit. Right, we're going to dive straight into it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Right, we're going to dive straight into it, right through the spirit. Let's get the mighty book, right, of Sirach. It's the mighty book of Sirach, chapter 39, in verse number 1. It says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecy. So if you're of the Most High, and you're really in this truth, and you're on fire for the Lord, and you're giving your mind to the law of the Most High, you're always going to be occupied in prophecy. Prophecy is a foretelling of future events that are going to come upon the earth. And if you're really in this truth, you have to be occupied in prophecy. That's a very important part, right, of this truth. Right, let me get the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 19, in verse, right, number 10. And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushua. Worship God, for the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. So if you have the testimony to be able to bear witness and speak about Yahushua, you have to have the spirit of prophecy. Let's go to the mighty book of Revelation. It's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse number 1. It says, and the fifth angel sounded. So when you're going into the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter, you have seals, and you have trumpets, and you have vials. Now the vials and the trumpets, right, are simultaneously the same, are going to pour out the same way. Now you have the seals. Right now in the seals in Revelation, when you diving into it, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but brothers did a seals breakdown right on the Cold Cuts channel. It's the mighty book of Revelation, right, chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse number 1. So after the seals are completed, that opens up the first trumpet. So you cannot have the seals and the trumpets going on at the same time. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 6 and verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard it as it was the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, come and see. Right? One of the angels saying, come and see. Right? The seals is the book closed from the foundation of the earth. In Revelation, the 5th chapter. And I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. This is a Mashiach wa Malak Yahushua opening up the first seal. It says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the beast say, come and see. So these seals are being opened up. When was John on the island of Patmos? When was the book of Revelation written? When was it given? From around 90 to 95 AD. So from around this time, you had the seals, right, being opened up and prophecy of the seals unrolling till you get to the 7th, right? Now, when you dive down, I'm going to start at verse 12. And I beheld he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. This is the beginning of World War III, right? And the move of the powers of the earth to be shaken. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, right? Like a blood moon of destruction. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when it is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll and is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places. So when the sixth seal hits, that's the beginning of destruction in World War III, leaving the fifth seal. You understand? Now, the fifth seal is Jacob's trouble persecution leading into World War III, which is the sixth. And the seventh seal opens up the first trumpet. Right now, let's go to the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 8, in verse number 1. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of an half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. So the angels were only given seven trumpets after the seals were open. So you can't have the trumpets and the seals simultaneously kicking off at the same time. That's madness. That wouldn't coincide with prophecy, nor would that make any understanding, right, with the book of Revelation or any type of chapter. See, the book of Revelation, you have to stay within Revelation to understand Revelation. So it says, and I saw the seven angels went stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. So they were only given seven trumpets at the time of the seventh seal being open, right? Now, as the trumpets start to blow, let's go to Revelation, the ninth chapter. This is Revelation, the ninth chapter. So you have something called the prophecy timeline. So you want to be able to understand, okay, what prophecy is kicking off. Because you don't want to make all of World War III simultaneously the same thing. You have different parts of World War III. You have the height of World War III. You have the Battle of Armageddon, right? You have the beginning of World War III, right? You have nations coming up. You have different parts when you dive into prophecy that you have to link up as you go into World War III in the book of Revelation. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9, and verse number 1. It says, and the fifth angel sounded. Sounded meaning what? Blowed the trumpet. These are going into the trumpets being open. And I saw a star fall from heaven. Now, this star that's falling from heaven is going into what? It's going into a bomb. A star is often talked to or go into a bomb in the scriptures. Right, let's get that. Let's go to the mighty book of Second Esdras. It's the book of Second Esdras, right, chapter 15. And I'm going to start at the mighty chapter 15 and 35. It says, I'm going to start at 34. Behold, clouds from the east. What is clouds? Clouds forms a storm. And out of a storm, you have what? You have rain, lightning, you have a tumult. It says from the east and from the north and to the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. So these clouds, right, is full of wrath and storm. They shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. Now we know that physical clouds can't smite down physical stars. The stars stay in their watches of their appointed seasons, and everything is in the order of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So this star has to be something parabolic going into what? A bomb. It said it shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star, and the blood shall be from the sword into the belly. So that star that it's talking to is talking about a bomb, right? Nuclear warfare. So it says, and the fifth angel sounded, meaning blew the trumpet, and I saw a star fall from heaven. Now the heavens are classified as the firmament. So falling down from the firmament into the earth, right? Because you're going to have World War III going on land. You're going to have World War III on sea, and you're going to have World War III right in the heavens. That's why the Lord said in the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter, right? Let's get that. I saw war in the heavens. It's not talking about the Mosai, Yahweh Shai, Michael, and the archangels, right? We're fighting in the third heaven going against Esau or Satan. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 7. And there was war in heaven. So the war in heaven is talking about the firmament. Michael and his angels, right? Meaning the Most High's host fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought in his angels. Who are the dragon's angels? Right? The military of the so-called white man. These are his angels that fly. These are his angels that fight. These are his angels that are upon the firmament. So the same way the Most High has angels, right, that are going to move, right, the elements, have destruction come, right, the so-called UFOs, right, they're going to be flying and destroying the same way the so-called white man is going to have his fighter jets, right, his helicopters, his drones, his missiles upon the firmament unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. So this angel is coming down with the key to the bottomless pit. What is this talking about? Let's go to the book of Revelation. Now, the bottomless pit, right, it's not talking about any other place, right, but Europe. That's proved that. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17, and verse, right, number 8. And the beast that thou sawest was. So the beast that thou sawest, it was, meaning the Roman Empire, it was, right? And is not, because Rome came out of power, right? You had the Eastern Roman Empire and you had the Western Roman Empire, right? It says, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So where does Rome really descend out of? Where's the so-called white man coming out of? Right? He's coming out of the bottomless pit and goeth into perdition. Meaning Rome was, and it is not, right? And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, meaning it came back as America. So Rome came back out as America and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Because this beast was, right, during the Roman Empire, and is not, because they got taken down, right? The Western Roman Empire fire. And then you had the revived Eastern Roman Empire, right? And the Roman Empire got taken down by the Ottoman Empire. It is not, but yet is, because it came back as America, right? So when it's going into a bottomless pit, it's descending and talking about Europe, right? What is a pit? Let's go to 2nd Esdras, the 5th chapter. Now, a pit is classified as a landmass. That's what a pit is. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of 2nd Esdras, chapter 5, and verse number 3. It says, and I say, O Lord, that bears rule of every wood of the earth, and of all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee, right, one only vine, right? So these are the things that the Most High has chosen, right? It says, and out of all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit. So a landmass is called a pit. Now, also, when you go to the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter, it's the book of Revelation, chapter 20, and verse number 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, right? Going into what the dark ages, when he locked up, right, Europe, right, for 1,000 years. Right, a brother did an in-depth breakdown, right? I have an in-depth breakdown of Revelation, the 20th chapter, on a Cold Cut channel, if you want to go into it, right? What they would call the medieval times, the dark ages, right? It says, having a key to the bottomless pit. And Europe was actually locked up, where you had so-called black man ruling Europe, man. And they would classify and call them the Moors. And a great chain is in his hand, right? It says, and he laid hold on that dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, meaning he shut him up in that landmass to be at a lower state, while the so-called black man ruled Europe. You had the Holy Roman Empire, right? You had a lot of parts of Rome that a lot of people don't talk about. They don't want to relive the days of their demise. And the Lord even said in a book, right, of Obadiah, right? Let me get this precept in Obadiah. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1. And I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. Matter of fact, I'm going to get Malachi. We get another precept. It's the book of Malachi, chapter 1, and verse number 3. It says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return. What was the mind frame in a state where Esau had to return back to his glory days? right back to him being a king, right back to him being right Rome, back to him being Greece, back to him ruling of all of his gods, Pallades, right, Zeus, right? It says to build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build. And they tried to build during the Renaissance. They tried to paint over all of the pictures, right, in the Colosseums and different things like that, which they had that were broken down and built back up all over again, and all of the ancient scribed out things of our fathers. But I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. So this angel was coming down with the key, right, to the bottomless pit going into Europe. And he opened the bottomless pit. So from the fifth seal, as you're going into it, this angel was opening up the key to the bottomless pit, talking about Europe. And there was, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, meaning it's as if this place just got hit by a bomb in World War III, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. So a smoke of the pit goes into what? Goes into being hit. Right, let me get that real fast. See if we can pull some images up. So if anything gets hit, you're going to have smoke and residue after a bomb explosion. And you're going to have smoke coming out of it. That's what it's talking about. Anytime you have a building be destroyed, be bombed, be hit, collapse, what do you have? You have smoke that rises out of it. Right? So going into it says, and the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun, right, and the moon were darkened by reason of the smoke of the furnace. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. So when it's saying the sun, right, the moon, and all of this became dark, it's not literal, right? Meaning all the powers, right, and all the knowledge and everything was darkened by reason of the hit, right? Because what does the sun do? It generates light, right? It generates a direction, generates strength, right? It says, and there came out of the smoke, right? And I want to get a quick precept through the spirit on that. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 32. And I'm going to start at verse number 7. It says, and when I shall put out thee, I will cover the heaven. So the Lord said, look, when he destroys you, he's going to cover the heavens. It's not literal, meaning he's going to make everything dark and make the stars thereof dark. But the stars will forever have their light, right? That's Jeremiah chapter 31. It says, I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land, saith the Lord God. Even the Lord said in the book of Zephaniah, the first chapter, verse 14 all the way down, right, that the day of the Lord is a gloomy day, a dark day. So as this is going on, right, it's parabolic and going into the destruction. There came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power. So when it says, and there came out of the smoke is a retaliation. They're just getting hit, you understand? So without of them, right, out of the smoke is rising up locusts. So it's a retaliation of them being hit and them being bombed, right? Let me get a quick precept on that. Now, locusts, right, they're many. You know, locusts have many bands. Right, there are thousands of locusts, hundreds of locusts. Right, let's get the mighty book of Judith. It's the book of Judith, chapter 2, and verse number 20. It says, a great multitude also of sun-dried countries came with them, like locusts. So the multitude of many people and countries are likened unto locusts. Why? Because locusts are deep, right? Locusts have many bands. Right? It's not just 5 locusts roaming around, man. Nobody's ever seen them, right? Locusts carrying bands, which are many, right? Let me get a quick picture on that through the spirit. Oh, look at this. That's the retaliation coming up out of the smoke, the bands, locusts. And locusts are likened to an army, right? They cover the heavens, they fly, they're deep. Look, you barely can see this man how many locusts are out here, man. And when the Lord sent a famine, he sent a locust. He sent them by bands, right? You can read about that in the book of Amos, right? The 7th chapter. To clean up all of the vegetation and all of the grass. So, I mean, the locust is likened to an army, right? It says, a great multitude also of sun-dried countries came with them like locusts and like the sand of the earth. So they're also likened it to the sand of the earth because you can't number the sand of the earth. For a multitude was without number. So it's without number. Let's go to the mighty book of Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 30 and verse number 27. It's the book of Proverbs chapter 30 and verse number 27. It says the locusts have no king. Now, when you actually going into the history and diving into it, right, the European Union has many presidents. As a center council member that reigns over, but it has many presidents and it has many offices. Everyone's not the exact same office and the exact same king or likened to a president in the European Union. And I want to touch on that later on in the breakdown through the spirit. But it says the locusts have no king, meaning the locust doesn't have anybody over them telling them what to do. This isn't a colony of bees or any other kingdom like you may have lions, you may have the head of the pack, or may have man, woman, and child. Right? The locusts, they're just bands. Yet go they forth, all of them by bands, meaning by army, by strength. Right? Let's go back to it. It's the book, right, of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 3. And there came out of the smoke, right, locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. So until these men and these bands and this army, right, coming up out of the smoke of this pit is likened to what? Given power, meaning strength. Now you have what it is, the European Union, they're reigning 1 hour with the beast. So they have their strength, but they're also going to execute a time and prophecy where they're coming out to destroy. It says, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of earth have power. And the scorpions have power. They'll sting you, right? Nobody wants to come near a scorpion, play with a scorpion, or tread upon a scorpion's habitation. That's why they're given power like scorpions. It says, and it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but those men which have not the seal of Yahweh in their foreheads. So the grass of the earth, nor any green thing is going into what? It's going into us. We're likening the grass. We're likening it to vegetation. We're likening it to lilies. We're likening it to the Most High's vineyard. Right? Let's get that real fast. Let's go to the mighty book of 1 Peter. Go to 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse number 24. It's 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 24. It says, all flesh is as grass. So the Lord likening a man having what? Having grass, vegetation. It says, and all the glory of man is as a flower of grass. So man is likened a tree. He's likened it to a lily and a flower, and he's likened it to grass. Right? It says the grass withereth and the flower thereof fadeth all away. Right? Fadeth away. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to the mighty book of Isaiah chapter 40 and verse number 7. Let's get another one. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 40 and verse number 7. Right? And it reads, the grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. That's plain. Because the Lord will blow upon you and you'll fade away. Man is likened in the grass because man's time is short. Man doesn't live forever. Grass gets chopped down every season and it happens all the time. So any green thing is going into the grass and the vegetation. All right, when you go to Job, the 8th chapter, it's the book of Job, chapter 8, and I'm going to start at verse number 11. Can the rush grow without mire? Can the flag grow without water? Whistle it is yet in its greenness, and not cut down, it withereth before any other herb. So you may have a man in his greenness, meaning his strength, his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding. The Most High dealing with him, he on fire. But guess what? This man could be cut down and withered before any other herb. You had many men that were kings that failed. You had many men that were strong captains in the Most High's host that got chopped down, man. Joab got chopped down. Many men got chopped down that were strong and executed a point of zealousness and strength that withered before any other herb. Right, let me get one more in the book of James. Let's go to the mighty book of James, the first chapter. Right? It's the mighty book of James, right? Chapter 1 and verse number 10. But the rich, in that he is made low, because the flower of the grass he shall pass away. So the rich man is likened unto passing away. But the elect is likened unto what the Most High gathering his lilies. Right? Meaning at a set time in a season, the Most High gather up his elect. Right? That's what it's going into. So man is likened unto trees, man is likened unto grass, and man is likened unto lily. And man is likened unto grapes, a vineyard, sheep, right? An ox, an ass, right? Going back to it, it says, and it was commanded that they should not hurt the grass of the earth. So when World War III is going on and kicking off, brothers can't be afraid. Yeah, you're going to have missiles, bombs, dropping. It may bust out your eardrums, man. One of your eardrums may possibly be gone. You have something called radioactive, right, explosions. Well, those things will affect you, and it won't be any smoke, it won't be any fire, nothing to hit you but the radioaction of the explosion. And that could carve in your chest, that could break your bones, that could blow you back, right? They have different things that, you know, a tree dropped or a building dropped, they may have a man fall, man, or push a man back. Like when a helicopter may land, that may blow you back. There's certain things that pushes you through force, right? Whether it be wind or radioactive force. These things are going to be dropping, but you can't be thrown away, man. You can't be scared, overthrown to the point where you're giving up hope and you think that the Most High is not with you. When you have accounts written like this, that nothing's going to hurt you till they have sealed, right, the servants of God in their forehead. What is that talking about? Seal the servants of God in their forehead. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 8 and verse number 16. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 16. Bind up the testimony, seal the law amongst my disciples. Right, so the Lord is coming back with the man that has the Most High's name, his law, faith, wisdom, understanding, and blameless soul. He's coming back for that man, which have been redeemed from the foundation of the earth through Yahweh Shah's blood, man, in the palm of the Most High's hand. Right, let me get another one. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 14. And man can't see the name of the Most High on his forehead, right? Man can't really perceive it. Hey, but the Most High knows who his chosen is. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 14, right? And I'm going to start at verse number 4. It says, these are they which were not defiled with women, right? Meaning the different philosophies and the different nations that try to overthrow you through witchcraft and sorcery. They are virgins, right? That's not physical, meaning they have not defiled themselves with philosophies and doctrines and this evilness of this world to commit fornication, right, and idol worship. These are they which follow the Lamb whatsoever he goeth. That's talking about in temptation. That's talking about the hour of adversity. Following the Lamb is going to have you to drink of the cup. You have to follow him into Isaiah, follow him into Ezekiel. You have to follow him into Revelation to understand a lot in the things that are happening. You have to follow him as you're a pilgrim through the spirit that he's going to lead you. You have to follow Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah wherever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and unto the Lamb, right? In their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. So they're without fault. They're perfect, right? Verse 1, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Sion, and with them 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. Meaning those men were sealed. All men aren't going to be sealed that have fringes on, right? That may teach, right? That may read on the highways and byways. That may be looking for a camp, right? The Lord is going to always trim the fat, and you got to make sure that you're worthy to be in the Most High's army, man. This isn't a game. Death and destruction is coming. These accounts that we read about, you can actually Google, see the warplanes, the vehicles, Euphrates River drying up. You can perceive the spirit of prophecy on the earth. You can feel the spirit of Yahweh Shai. You can feel that the nations and the spirits rousing up for war, right? And let me get this last precept in the book of Ezekiel, right? Chapter 9. This is Ezekiel chapter 9 and verse number 4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city and through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So they're going to be sealed certain men that are not going to feel any harm, any destruction, or anything as World War III and the height of destruction is going on upon the earth, right? It says, and two, right? Yeah, I'm going to just leave it right there. I'm going to get the next one. It says, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. So when it's going into 5 months, it's going into a dispensation of time. You have numerology on the right-hand side in the scriptures. You have 3, which is the number of completion. You have 4, which is going into infinite, right? Right, completion, infinite completion, right? 4 corners of the earth, right? The Lord said, I may smite thee these 3 times, right? With the ass, or right, they have changed my wages 10 times, or the Lord may have, right, these different precepts written for our learning sake. 5 is a dispensation of time. 6 is incompletion. 7 is completion. 8 is infinite. 9 is lacking, which is not complete. 10 is complete. 12 is complete, right? You have 100, which is infinite. 1,000, which is infinite. 40, which is completion, right? And 1,000, which is completion. So when you dive into numerology on the right-hand side, you can perceive as you read these precepts what the Lord is talking about. That's not talking about physically 5 months they're going to be tormented. Because in World War III, nobody's going to be counting time. Nobody's going to say, okay, it's Wednesday or Thursday, Friday. And those men, as they're whipping the warplanes and the vehicles, they get a direct hit from their commander that they have 1 more day to afflict men in the midst of war. That's not going to happen. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 25, and verse number 1. I'm going to get straight to the point, right? I'm going to read 1 to 2. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom, right? 10 virgins, right? Went their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom, meaning Yahushua. And 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. So one part of dispensation were wise, and the other part, right, of that remnant were foolish. So you have a severed in the middle of it being not specifically completion or lacking, but a dispensation of a number. Right, let me get another quick precept on that. Let's go to Isaiah. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 19. It's the mighty book of Isaiah chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse number 18. It says, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. It's not literal that 5 literal cities are going to speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts, one should be called the city of destruction. Right? That's not literal. Right? That's not what that's going into. So you have a dispensation of the language of Canaan that's going to be divvied out to be spoken at a complete remnant at a second. Right? Let's go to the mighty book. I want to get Luke too. Now, like I said, it's not going into physical. Right? You have things which may be in Chronicles, Numbers, right? Throughout the scriptures, right? Ezra, right? These are chapters where a lot of things are literal, right? Where they may have numbers and poles, but different parabolical chapters and parables, you have to see it in the spirit. It's the book of Luke, right? It's the book of Luke, chapter 16 and verse number 28. It says, for I have 5 brethren that may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Now, does he physically just have 5 brethren? Right? He had 4, then he had 1 more, and it's just 5 brethren. No, this is called a parable. Right? Luke, the 16th chapter, is a parable. This is not literal to be counted as 5 literal brethren. So when the Lord said in Revelation, right? The ninth chapter, verse 5. And to them were given that they should not kill them. Not kill them means they're going to be afflicted upon the earth, but that they should be tormented 5 months. That's a dispensation of time. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Because when a scorpion strikes a man, it doesn't kill a man. So when the days of vengeance upon the earth, as it's talking about, men are going to desire to die. Everybody is going to be granted the opportunity of a quick and easy death. Right? I'm going to pull this up real fast. Now, scorpion bite symptoms. What are the symptoms of a scorpion bite? Numbness all over your body. So the plagues of destruction that are going to be hitting the earth, right, from physical to bombs, right, to gas, the smells, the smokes, the bombs, eating unclean things from all of the other nations, the sicknesses, the diseases, the things that are going to be going on in the earth, men are going to desire to die, right? And they have something called chemical warfare. And I want to go inside of the chemical warfare, right, through the spirit, right, to show you, how war kind of kicks off. It says numbness all over your body, difficulty breathing, difficulty swallowing. In the midst of war, if smoke is all down your throat and your arm is broken, right, you're going to be hit and you're going to feel the repercussions of these bombs hitting the earth. And these things are going to be like the sting of the scorpion, because a scorpion is not going to kill you, but you're still going to feel the sting of that scorpion. It says difficulty swallowing, thick tongue, excessive saliva, and drooling. It says slurred speech. So now you can't even speak properly. You all over the place. Restlessness. You want to move. You tired. Seizures. People catch seizures from getting hit by things, by all type of reasons. Revolving eye movements, right? Delirium. You're all over the place. You're confused, right? You're over here. You're over there. Blurredness. These are the repercussions, right, of a scorpion sting. Now, a scorpion, let me put this too, right? This is from Wikipedia. Scorpion, the vast majority of species do not seriously threaten humans, and healthy adults usually do not need medical treatment after a sting. About 25 species, fewer than 1%, have venom capable of it's like you're killing a human. It says about 25 species, fewer than 1%. So the chances of you dying, right, by getting hit, right, by this scorpion on a physical level is slim to none, which happens frequently in the parts of the world where they live, primarily where access to medical treatment is unlikely, right? So it's unlikely for these things, right? So going into that destruction and that spirit, right, of World War III upon the earth and the repercussions of it. It says, in those days, men shall seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. That's not saying it's impossible to die. Like in Christianity, you may read this and you're going to have to face your judgment. Men are stabbing each other in the heart, and somebody has put a rope and tried to tie it to a ceiling fan, and the rope broke. This is not what this is talking about. It's talking about via the hand of the plagues of the things that are going to be upon earth. Now, like I said, everything isn't going to kill you. You're going to have distress, right, amongst nations and people. Let me get this real fast. Now, when you look at a civil war in the streets, you have smoke, you have fire, right? You have gas everywhere. People are going to be trapped under certain things. They aren't going to be able to get out of that situation. Think about your foot as you try to travel in World War III. Right now, you have a flat surface. How many ankles are you going to twist, man? How many things are you going to get caught on that's going to tear your flesh? That may give you a burning sensation, right? It may give you like a virus or something. The situations of warfare that men are going to be living in, yeah, they're going to desire to die. Meaning that's what it's saying is, I wish this bomb would have just hit me. It hit the city next to me, raffled up a hole that I gotta walk around. Buildings are everywhere. I gotta climb up this big building to get over the other side. I wish this thing would have just killed me by now. That's the spirit that it's really talking about. It's not saying it's impossible for you to die. Right? It says, in those days shall men seek death. And they're going to be seeking to get out of this situation and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. In the shape of the locusts. Now, the locusts are the war vehicles, right? The war vehicles in the air. Now, you have the Typhoon, which is the EU, right? Military warfare vehicles. And then you have the EU helicopter war vehicles. Now, I want to touch on this real fast through the spirit. I'm going to pull this up. You have the EU warplanes. Now, this is what they call advanced military weaponry, right? Swift, fast, faster than the speed of sound, right? As they blow and as they're in these fighter jets, they going so fast that they actually replicate a cloud, right? Meaning they can go so fast you can't even see them, right? You see the cloud of smoke, right? That's they're inhabiting within going that fast. And these are your war vehicles. Now, this is what John saw. John actually saw these things, man. Now, John didn't know how to describe these things. He didn't know how to break these things down and actually go into them. But this is exactly what John saw through the Spirit. He saw these war vehicles. Now, it says, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared to battle. Because why is it likened unto horses prepared for battle? Because horses have their faces and their nostrils pointed forward as they run. The same way they do nose dives, they go up. And horses are always prepared for battle, man. Let me get this real fast. And horses are fast. They're strong. They have dust behind them as they run, right? They don't back down from anything. They travel in bands the same way. So John said, well, these war fakes and these vehicles, are likened unto horses prepared for battle. It says, and on their heads were as it were crowns. And another reason why he said horses, because horses muscle up the battle. Right? Let me get that in the book of Job. And horses laugh at fear. And the military is blinded to think that they're actually going to have some type of strength behind their weaponry. Right? This is the book of Job, right? Chapter 39 and verse 19. Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? So horses aren't afraid. Horses are ready for battle. You have a horse threatening a war, and it'd be 100,000 men, and the horse isn't going to turn away. You have certain dogs or different creatures, a cat, right? You may have a gerbil or some type of creature, they'll flee. But a horse has a different mentality. They're created for war. The glory of his nostrils is terrible. He paweth the valley and rejoiceth in his strength. It sounds a lot like the so-called white man. And goeth to meet the armed men. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted, neither turneth he back from the sword. Right? So a horse is strong in war and strong in battle. So the locusts, meaning the army, right, of these fighter jets, were likened unto horses prepared for battle, meaning they're not going to turn away. They're all armed up and they're all running fast. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. So when you're going into these different warfare vehicles, let me get this real fast. Now the EU helicopters and the EU, right, war jets, I don't want to make a quick comparison through the spirit, right? And when it says they had the faces of men, the faces of men is being able to see them, right? This is their face, the beginning of it. You can tell, right, that they have windows, and their faces of these planes are actually the face of a man, even though it's likened to a scorpion, even though it's likened to a horse, even though it's likened to a lion with iron teeth, even though it's likened to these different things of these strong creatures, right, and animals, it still has the face of a man, still has windows where men are coming out of it, where you can see the face of a man. Meaning John could still be able to see the face of the warfare, to be able to perceive, right, that these were men inside of these vehicles. Right? It says, "In the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns of gold, right? And their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair." Right? Check this out. Let me get this quick precept real fast. I want to get another quick precept. Like I said, John didn't know what he was seeing. He had to describe it the best way he could. Now, John isn't going to say it's the triform from the EU, the European Union, right? And all of the different war planes and war vehicles. He's not going to say it like that because that's before it came into existence. Right? This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and verse number 15. This is what Ezra said. "Shew me now the interpretation of this dream." Because there's only so much Ezra could look into and see and assume or describe before the Most High has to break it down plainly to be able to show you these things. You may have had a dream. Your dream may have been, you dived into these waters and then you swim all the way down. Then out of the waters came this, and the sun became black, right? Then you seen 3 sheep. And amongst the 3 sheep, you saw a tall man, right? And then you trying to put all of these things together. You're not going to be able to get that down to a T unless you use the precepts, unless you use other prophecies, unless somebody breaks it down for you and gives you the interpretation of what it's actually talking about. But in the last days, knowledge shall be increased. The spirit of wisdom is upon the earth. Right? We're not living in the days of old, and where all the disciples said, "Show us what thou meanest." Right? Well, what does that mean? When it was there privately, can you break this down to us? And through the spirit, humbly speaking, a lot of brothers are able to look inside of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John without an interpreter or somebody breaking it down. And through the spirit of the comforter and the Holy Spirit could be able to break it down. With certain things that the apostles and the disciples were asking the Lord, "What does this mean? Give me a breakdown to it. What is this talking about?" So knowledge shall be increased in the latter days upon the earth. This is the generation of faith and the generation of prophecy. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 12 and verse 4. "But thou, Daniel," Salakia, "but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words," meaning seal them, "and seal the book even to the time of the end." This is the time of the end where this book is now being unsealed to be understood. "Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." So Daniel and Ezra didn't understand all the things that they were even prophesying. Verse number 9. I'm going to start at 8. "And I heard, but I understood not." Who's saying this? The mighty prophet Daniel. He's hearing things, but he's not understanding them. "Then said I, O my Lord, what shall these things be?" And the prophets always ask, what does this mean? What's the breakdown? How do I get more understanding? "And he said, Go thy way, O Daniel, for the words are closed up." Right? Meaning what? The angel didn't give him the breakdown. It wasn't for him to understand it in his life. "And sealed to the time of the end." So from the time of Daniel, right, when you actually going into it, around 605 BC, when the Babylonians and the Persian Mede, and when Daniel was around and all these things were prevalent, the Lord didn't give Daniel all things. He sealed it up to the time of the end. Right? Let's go back to it. It says in verse 8, "And they had hair on their," and they had hair as the hair of woman. So as he's describing these warplanes and these vehicles, right, and the crown like gold, right, is going into the same thing, right, and it's talking about when it says hair of a woman. Now I got this picture pulled up. Now, what a woman's hair is in the breeze is likened to what? A helicopter flying, whipping back and forth. That's what it's going into. A propeller. A propeller has the spin. It's whipping. It's all over the place. It's windy. These things on multiple levels, right? The way it physically looked, right? The repercussions of the wind blowing. It was likened unto hair. That's how we could describe it. Now let a warplane, a helicopter, right, or even a regular plane or Spirit, right? Airlines, American Airlines get too close to you, right? You can see a propeller spinning physically. It's likened to a whipping motion, and it also is going to generate, right, your hair and a likeness of your hair to be spent. So when it says, and they had hair, right, as the hair of woman, and their teeth was as teeth of lions, meaning their bite, right, and what they have. Let me get this real fast. Let's pull that back up. Salaki, bear with me. This is the whipping motion on top. And the top of anything is likened to a crown of it. The top of your head has a crown. So their crown or their top, really what it's saying, is likened to woman's hair. So John is describing these warplanes, right, and these war vehicles as he's diving into it, right? Now it says, and they had breastplates as were the breastplates of iron. Now they didn't have alloy and the different things to make. Now all resources and minerals were from the foundation of the earth, but John wasn't describing it because in his vision he didn't know if it was iron, right? If it was alloys or what type of steel. He didn't know what type of physical metal. So the strongest metal at that time would be iron. Now these planes and these helicopters are not physically iron. Iron is one of the heaviest things that you could literally have. So to have iron planes wouldn't make any sense for the speed of the plane. Now, as John was really going into this, right? Let me get this real fast. What materials are fighter jets made of? Aluminum. Why? Because aluminum alloys with steel and titanium, composed of glass fiber elements. So very thin, very light. So it could be able to be strong somewhat, right, with the steel and the titanium. But with the aluminum alloys and the glass fiber, we able to still fly and be fast, right? So you had your Eurofighter Typhoon that I was talking about earlier. It's one of your chief, right, EU fighter jets. Now you have a list of fighter jets, right? And many of these fighter jets, right? You have your RAV Typhoon, right? And majority of them are called that Typhoon, right? You have the RAV Typhoon F2 ZJ 910 from Australia, Germany, Italy, right, all the way to the United Kingdom and Spain. So it's going into like how these things are created, their mass, their strength, and they're boasting in their power. They're boasting in their wisdom on the left-hand side. It says the NATO Eurofighter and Tornado Management Agency, representing the UK, Germany, Italy, and Spain, manages the project and is the prime customer, right? Check that out. Twin engines, supersonic speed. Now, this is what I was going into earlier, the supersonic speed. The supersonic speed is so fast that when it actually goes, it's likened to a cloud being in the midst of it. Meaning you barely could see it. It's going so fast, it's whipping the air, and the air is covering the jet so that you barely can see, right, the fighter jet at its full speed. That's why that's why in Second Esdras, the 15th chapter, right, Ezra likened those things into clouds in the air. That's one of the only times mentioned in the scriptures where clouds are not talking about chariots, it's talking about war vehicles. Because these clouds have supersonic speed. It says supersonic speed is the speed of an object that exceeds the speed of sound. So these war vehicles are so fast, they're saying that it's faster than the speed of sound. For objects traveling in dry air of the temperature 20 degrees Celsius, 28 Fahrenheit at sea level, the speed is approximately 343.2 milliseconds. Speed greater than 5 times the speed of sound. So this thing will could fly past 5 times before you hear my voice. That's what they're saying. Right? So when it says they had breastplates, now a breastplate is what Yahushua had when it said he had, let's get the classic precept. Right? In Revelation chapter 1. Now a breastplate is what? It's to protect your breast, right, which is your chest in the midst of war. Right? It's the mighty book of Revelation 1 and verse number 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes are a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass. Right? So like, I'm going to start at 13. That's the point. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. So the paps is your chest, and golden girdle was what will hold up your stomach. So instead of this golden girdle being right here, he had paps, right, which protect like a warrior in a man of strength, like a breastplate. So even the Lord was girded up with the paps like a man of war, right? The same way John is describing it, because John has an ancient mindset. That's why he's saying breastplates, right? Because he saw the aluminum, titanium upon these warplanes and these vehicles, and that's how he's describing them. And he's using iron as he's doing it. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of the chariots of many horses running to battle. Meaning he could hear in the vision, right, all of the things of these warplanes and these vehicles. Now, this is Esau's angels, right, what we're going into, right? The EU, right, all of their destruction of their warplanes, this is classified as Esau's angels. Now you have the Most High's angels. Now, likened it to any good, just balance, the Most High angels are going to be likened to the same spirit, right? Or should I say the same of what Esau tries to replicate. It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 10 and verse 5. It says, and the sound of the cherubim's wings was heard even into the outer court, as the sound, so like as the voice of the Almighty when he speaketh. So a physical angel wings, as they flap back and forth, are so vibrant, so strong, so powerful, so magnificent, so strong, that it's as if the Most High is speaking, man. And the Most High's voice is likened unto thunder. And I don't know anybody that can withstand thunder. When they hear thunder, man, thunder will make you go like this, cover your ears. Thunder will make a car alarm go off. Thunder can make your cat and your dog crawl under the couch. Thunder can make your kids cry. Thunder could break down God knows what, man. Thunder is extremely strong. So the cherubim's wings are likened unto thunder, the same way that sound is likened unto all little horses in the midst of battle. Right? That's how, if you ever heard one of these warplanes fly past, you'll hear it from about a half a mile away. Right? And the way it flies past, and a voice as it speaks. Right? I want to let me see if I could pull that up. Real fast. So I don't know if brothers can hear that, but that's just on a low level. That's a very, very low level. It's whipping through the air. It's just cutting through the air. No, I don't know if brothers ever had like a hanger or like a sword or like a stick or like a twig and they whip it real fast. You'll hear the sound effect of that staff or that twig or that hanger whipping through the air. And it will literally give you a like-minded sound because it's going so fast, it's whipping through the sound. So like it's whipping through the air. See if I can get another one. And it sounds as if a bomb is about to drop. So, I mean, you don't even hear a bomb, see a bomb, perceive a bomb. This thing whipping past, and that's just one of them. Hey, John said it was a locust. You know how many locusts is? You know how great of a sound that's going to be? Like I said, in the spirit is likened to, these are the angels on the left-hand side. The Most High's angels is like the Most High when he's speaking. So their wings and their flapping is as the Almighty when he speaks. It's World War III is going to be extremely noisy. But mix the bombs, the screams, the yells, the fighter jets, the sounds, the engines. Right, let me go back to it. It says, and the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses, right, running to battle. That's what it's going into. And they had tails like unto scorpions. Their tails is going into where they execute the bombs to shoot out of. Now, when you see a warplane, you don't see the bombs necessarily on them. Why? Because they eject from underneath. They have a very stealth, slick, sly system when you actually going and studying these things that they push a button or multiple buttons. It opens up from beneath the EU Typhoon. It comes out of it and then it shoots. So you may not see the sting, right? You may not see anything. You just see a plane. But within opening up underneath the plane, let me see if I can get a picture. Let me see if there's something that, okay, that's not a bad picture right there. So underneath them, they may have them attached to it, but a lot of them, they're built into the plane. So without the plane, they have to eject the bombs, the issue outside of the plane. I'm seeing if I could get a picture to show that. So they're not all located right at the bottom specifically, not all of them. Right? They eject missiles. Right? When you actually study this thing and go into this thing. See that? Yeah, so a lot of their stealth, ones like this, they're newer versions, they shoot them within the plane, outside of the plane. They're not sticking on the outside. See, a lot of your older planes will shoot from the top of them or they'll hold them, depending on how big the missile is or their target. So it says, and they had, so like, let me read that again. It says, and they had tails like unto scorpions. And meaning from the back of the plane is how they sting, how they shoot, how they afflict. And there were stings in their tails. And their power was to hurt men 5 months. Meaning for a dispensation of time, that's how they were hurting men. Now I'm going to jump down to verse number 19. For their power was in their tail. So in the tail is in the back end of it. That's where their power resides. It isn't in the beginning of it. It isn't in the midst of it. It's in the back of the warplanes. That's how their power resides, within the back. It says, for their power was in their mouth, Salakia, and in their tails, right? For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, but with them they doeth hurt. Right? Meaning what? From the beginning, sometimes in the midst of it, they'll shoot, but primarily it's going to be in the back of the plane. That's what it's going into. All right, going back to it. Verse 9. Verse number 10. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and they were the stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men for 5 months. Right? We touched on that. Now, when you actually, like I said, get stung by a scorpion, let me see this real fast. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to this parallel in Revelation 9 and 19. For their power was in their mouth and in their tails, meaning they shoot from the beginning of the plane, well, primarily in the back. For their tails were likened unto serpents. Why were their tails likened unto serpents? Because serpents had venom in them, and had heads, and on them they doeth hurt. So they're likened unto poisonous. You have poisonous serpents, poisonous and venomous. Right, let's go back to it. It's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse number 11. And they had a king over them. So locusts don't have a king over them, but yet this army does have a king over them. Why don't they have a king over them? Right, I want to touch on this too, because when you actually go into the European Union and their powers, right, they don't have, right, one president. I'm going to touch on this real fast. List of presidents of the institution of the European Union. Right? It says this is a list of presidents of the institution of the European Union. Right? It says each of the institutions is headed by a president. That's confusion. You have many presidents. So you have certain that things are a monarchy, and then you have things that are not. Like you have monotheistic religions, and then you have multiple gods. Right? The way the EU genders its power and sets up an institution is not like a Nebuchadnezzar monarchy, when Nebuchadnezzar was the king. And whatever he said, it was going to go. It ruled. It was what it was. Now the EU, like it says in the scriptures, was 10 kings, but now it was spread out to over 28, or 28 rather, right, are headed by institutions. These institutions have presidents. Now when you go into it, the president of the European Council is Charles Michel. He's in Belgium. You have the president of the European Commissions. Now, this lady, if you may look at it, Ursula von der Leyen, right? You may type in UN, Slovakia, EU president, and she may pop up, because the European Commissions is the head of the 27 members of the college commissioners. So she may come up as the primary president, but nevertheless, you still have breaking down of institutions that are also classified as presidents. So as you have their rulers, you don't have one Pacific ruler like you may have Joe Biden, you may have Donald Trump, you may have George Washington, right? USC S. Grant. It says, and she's in Germany. You have the president of the European Parliament, right? Roberta Mostler. You also have the president of the Slovakia of Justice, the Court of Justice, right? Ken Lennox. You have the president of General Court, right? Marcus van der Wood. You have the president of European Central Bank. So these are the institutions of how it's being ran. The president of European Court and Auditors, from Belgium all the way down to Ireland, Greece, Portugal, Denmark, right? Spain, Italy, Ireland. So when you go back to Revelation and they had no king over them, that's spiritual, right? Because their king isn't Yahweh Shah, first and foremost. And the Lord said in the book, that's how you know the EU is confusion. It's divided, like it says in Daniel. Let's go. Let me get this quick precept of Sirach. And the Lord said he has set a ruler over all the people of the earth. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and 17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he has set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion. Right? Meaning we don't need a physical king. Our king is Yahweh Shah. But for the division, meaning all of the different nations, the Lord set a ruler over every people. They say multiple rulers over the people of the same nation. Right? That's confusion. All right, let me go back to it. It says, and they had like a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. So you actually have a spirit over that region, right? Which is called a principality. Principalities is where spirits are subject over certain regions, right? You may have Las Vegas, they got a gambling spirit. They always gambling, right? You may have Atlanta, right? They may have a sodomite spirit, right? You may have Chicago, they got a shooting spirit, right? These different nations and in different regions, right? They're set up by principalities. Let's get that in Colossians. It's Colossians chapter 1 in verse number 16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones. So there's certain things that are visible and invisible that are set up by the Most High God, right? Thrones or dominions or principalities. Principalities are set up, huh? So don't be negligent when you drive, 30 minutes down the street and you in the hood and you wonder why the spirit changed. You lock in your door, you're trying to figure out why if you're going to get robbed, if you should go to this gas station or this liquor store or not. And the principality didn't change. The districts, the spirit that's over these regions and these cities, right? They're all governed by spirits and demons. All right, let me pull this up real fast.
Principality.
A state ruled by a prince. Check that out, man. So a prince of polity, right? Let's go back to it. It says, which is the angel over the bottomless pit. And that shows you that in the midst of the understanding and the spirit of how Esau moves, Satan is over Esau, right? Right? It even says that in the book of Revelation. Let me get this real fast. In Revelation chapter 13. It's the book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 4. And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, right? And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him, right? So they're worshiping, right, the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. So the Roman Empire, right, they're worshiping the Roman Empire. But that dragon is really talking about Satan, right? It says, and it was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, right? And blasphemies and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So they're worshiping the dragon. They're worshiping the beast. They're worshiping Satan. And the Lord said in the mighty book of Habakkuk that they sacrifice to their drag, where they do sacrifices on the left-hand side. Who are they doing these sacrifices to? Well, this is the book of Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse number 16. It says, therefore they sacrifice unto their net. What is a net used for? To catch men, to catch souls, right? Esau caught us physically with a net, man. You catch fish with a net. We're classified as fish. The book of Ezekiel, right? The 47th chapter, right? A net is what you catch things in. And burn incense unto their drag. Meaning they're burning incense and sacrifices on the left-hand side to the very thing they catch men's souls with. So who are they sacrificing it to? It has to be something that they're sacrificing or holding in high regard. Because by them the portion is fat, and their meat plenteous. Show they therefore empty their net? Meaning, no, they're not going to let us go, man. And not spare continually to slay the nations. Meaning, America has everybody in captivity. The so-called white man has put everybody mentally, right? Financially, right? Into captivity. It says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue is Apollyon. Now, I want to pull this up, right, to get this real fast in a blue letter. Let's dive into it. Right, it's the book of Revelation, right, chapter 9 and 11. I'm going to dive into this. Destruction. So, I mean, he is called destruction his mother. Death in the grave is mother. Right? Isn't it saying that in the book of Job? Let me get that in the book of Job, chapter 17. So the spirit that's over the bottomless pit, controlling the whole region, right, and moving the powers and war is literally called destruction. Right? Let's dive into it. It's the book of Job, chapter 17. Right? And I'm going to start at verse 13. If I wait, the grave is mine house. This is Esau's thoughts. I have made my bed in darkness. This is the point. I have said to corruption, thou art my father. So who's begotten Esau? Who's the spirit of Esau? What region and spirits does he conjure up and have over him? Corruption, death, the grave, destruction. This is the spirit that follows him that's even in his mind. The worm, thou art my mother and my sister, meaning the grave, right? So they even say that corruption is their father. So for this angel to be over, right, which is literally going into destruction, to be over, right, this army makes perfect sense through the spirit. Makes perfect sense when you dive into the destruction of their institutions, their presidents, how the EU is, how things are divided, how locusts are, how their attributes are as insects, right? Now I want to dive into something real fast. It says they had a king over them, which is the king, Salaki, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, right? Now I want to touch on something real fast. Bear with me. I'm gonna go to the book, A Song of Solomon. Matter of fact, that's so many precepts. I'm not trying to pull all of these precepts. I'm gonna go to Revelation. Revelation chapter 17. And I'm gonna start at 12. It says, these have one mind. Why do they have one mind? Because they're all working together. They have one mind in one presidency, an institution. Not only that, on one fold, on another fold, Satan's controlling your mind. Destruction is controlling your mind. They all have one mind going into what? Going into the 10 kings. Right, let me start at verse number 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings. Why does it says kings? Because there are multiple of them. 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Right? Let's go back to it. Right? And it reads, one woe is past, and behold, there cometh 2 woes more after. Now, this is not talking about how a lot of people may go into it, World War I, World War II, and World War III. This would make no sense in prophecy if this was talking about World War I is the first woe, World War II is the second woe, and World War III is the third woe. A woe means destruction. Now, when you go inside of a woe and you break it down, right, what a woe is, let's go to the book of Revelation. See, you have to go inside of Revelation to understand Revelation. Right? This is Revelation chapter 11. And I'm going to start at 14. Now, when you go into it, it switches So Revelation 11, you may be in this time frame, then you jumping into this, like Revelation 20. You're here, but then you go back in time, then you going back right to future events. Right, the book of Revelation is very deep. Right, Revelation chapter 11 and verse. I'm gonna start at 13. In the same hour, there was a great earthquake, and a tenth part of the city fell, meaning complete destruction. And the earthquake was slain of men 7,000. That's a complete number. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe was past, right? So as it's going into it, you have the sixth trumpet, right? And then you have the seventh trumpet. Like the Lord said, it is done, right? It says the second woe is past. So why during the time of Revelation is it saying the second woe is past? Behold, the third woe cometh quickly. What does it mean that it's past? So if you were reading this, and like I said, the book of John was from 90 to 95 AD. You had World War One, World War Two, and World War Three. During the time of World War Three going on, nobody's gonna be sitting down with a nice lamp, some incense burning, reading the scriptures, looking on TV, talking on the phone, being able to weigh the times. It's either in your spirit and in your soul and your mind, or you don't have it. So when it says the second woe is past, a woe means destruction. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly, letting you know what? What's the third woe? And the seventh angel sounded. That's the third woe coming quickly. When you go to Revelation chapter 9 and 12, one woe is past, and behold, there cometh two more woes. So if you're in the fifth seal, that's the sixth. So like if you're in the fifth trumpet, that's the sixth and the seventh, right? Two more from the fifth angel sounding would be six and seven. There are seven trumpets and seven seals. So when it says there are two more hereafter, it's not talking about world wars. It's talking about woes, meaning destructions. Woe just means misery and destruction, right? Right. Let me get another one through the spirit. Let's get Revelation chapter 16. See, a lot of people break stuff down without using precepts. You got to watch those brothers. They have no precepts. They just make it sound good. It's the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 16 and 17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." Meaning that's that two more woes hereafter. It's done. It's complete. It's over. There are no more woes. There are no more destruction. Right? Armageddon is sealed up for the final war with Yahushua and Esau's angels in the head. Right? Before we're taken to the second wilderness and the destruction of Gog and Magog. Right? It's the book of Revelation 9 and 13. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, right in the third heaven, in the tabernacle of witness, which is before God, saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So we're saying, loose these angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Slock. Which are bound in the great river Euphrates, right? Now I'm going to dive into that through the spirit, right? Let's go to the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse number 12. It says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial, because the vials of the trumpets are the same thing, upon a great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. And that's happening right now. You can literally see the Euphrates River drying up as we speak. Let's look that up. Let's go into it. Check that out. See, in the ancient world, the Euphrates River used to be vast. There's something called the Euphrates River tide in season, where the levels would get so high that they would rise up during the tide season. Euphrates River tide increase, right? Waters. Let me see if we can pull that up and show you. Because they have a part of the season where the Euphrates River uh, it overflows. See if I can pull it up. Right, it's just going into drying up. I'm not going to find too. I'm not going to look too much time on that. Okay, there it is. The two, it's like the rivers have two flood periods. The irregular rain fed rise of minor proportions lasting from November to the end of March. So you have rising flood levels of the Tigris Euphrates River. And that goes with any river. Any river has a strong rain season where it increases and it increases and increases, and that flood levels where it was peaks. But let's dive into it. Right, like I said, we're not going to read and get too deep, right? But nevertheless, it says the economic life of the Euphrates basin continues heavily in the waters of the rivers, right? It's the point. The rivers have two flood periods: an irregular rain fed rise in a minor proportion lasting from November to the end of March, and main snow melt flood of April and May. The sheer volume of floodwaters endangers the abundance embankments within which is the river are confined in their lower courses. The primarily requirement of the river control, therefore, to maintain an effective system, right, of diversion and storage, both as precautions against kinds. Right, like I said, we're not going to read too deep into it, but you have two major levels in seasons where the Euphrates River rises. Well, why does the Euphrates River look the way it looks now? Why is it broken down and dried up the way it's dried up right now? So even on the agricultural level, which is documented through history, it's supposed to have water right now. But yet it doesn't. That the kings of the east might be prepared to march through, that the Most High, by Hashem Yahushua, may judge them all together swiftly in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Yahweh Shaphat, right? Let me go back to Revelation chapter 16 and 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the waters thereof were dried up, that the ways of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs. Three is a number of completion. Why frogs? Because frogs hop around. Read the book of Exodus, the 8th chapter. They were all in the chambers. They were all over the houses. They were all upon the palaces, right? Frogs hop. They spread messages spiritually, right? Like if it's spirits, right, going to and fro, right, that's confederates being formed, damn treaties, spirits, demons, right? It says, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophets. For they are spirits of devils working miracles, for they go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to battle of the great day of Yahweh Almighty. So when it says working miracles, that's the same miracles it's talking about in Revelation the 13th chapter. Right? He doeth miracles in the sight of men. He make a fire come down. That's not talking about the wonders and the miracles of magicians and magic tricks. Right? Revelation 13 and 13 and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven, right, on earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwelleth on earth by the means of those miracles. So those spirits going to and fro to form miracles, right, of the kings of the east is not talking about magic tricks. It says, which had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. Right? It's the book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse number 15. Right? And it reads, and the four angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay the third part of men. Right? So these angels were elected, created to be bound, meaning put in a specific place and region from the foundation of the earth for a specific hour, day, month, year to slay the third part of man. You can't say the Most High's creation is not on fire. When I look about this, I think about how a man can't even wait for a bus. Man can't even wait for his mother to get home, or his sister to get home, or his daughter to get home, or his wife to answer the phone to get home. Man is very impatient. The Most High's create, these angels are waiting till the Most High, Bashem Yahushua, give the go, and they're going to slay and destroy the third part of men. That goes to show you how strong these angels are. The Lord said there were four angels were loosed. Right now, four actually goes into a number of completion as well. It says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them, meaning 2 million. So there were over 2 million in this army. It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates. So we went inside the breastplates, the armor, right, and actually the material, right, that is going into. All right, let me get another picture. Right, it says having breastplates and fire and of jackin and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, right? Because lions are the strongest among beasts, they turn away from none. And Esau is a lion on the left hand side. Read about that in Psalm chapter 91, Psalm chapter 10. And out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Now I want to read this in another translation, so we can actually dive into, right, what it's saying. All right, and this is Revelation chapter 9 and verse 17. That says, in my vision, and in my vision I saw the horses and the riders sitting on them, riding Esau and the angels on the left-hand side, his riders, his military. The riders wore armor that was fiery red and dark blue and yellow, right? It says the horses had heads like lions, and fire, this is the point, and fire and smoke and burning sulfur bellowed from their mouths. So what comes from these warplanes' mouth? Fire, smoke, and sulfur. What is that talking about? What also is going to come from these warplanes, these vehicles that happened in World War III?
Sulfur.
Sulfur is a chemical, the chemical element of an atomic number 16, yellow, right? So when you go into sulfur, it's a non-metallic chemical element belonging to the oxygen group, right? So a lot of this is going to come, like it says, let me read that again, right? Fire, smoke, and sulfur, right? Going into oxygen, wind, smoke, destruction through swiftness that's going to come out of their mouth. But also, you're going to have military warfare. Now, military warfare goes into chemical warfare. Now, they're going to have chemical warfare in the midst of World War III. Now, they banned chemical warfare in World War One, right? Because a lot of people were getting affected, coughing, sneezing, dying, giving up the ghost, and all hell was breaking loose. And they had banned chemical warfare. But chemical warfare, also known as CW, involves the toxic properties of chemical substance as weapons. So you're not just going to have World War III, right, and all hell breaking loose. You're also going to have chemical warfare. This type of warfare is distinct from nuclear warfare, right? You have radiological warfare, nuclear warfare, biological warfare, and you have chemical warfare, which is CBRN, also classified, as you heard presidents say and leaders, the weapons of mass destruction. That's collectively unified in chemical warfare. It says nuclear, going into bombs, biological, right, going into germs being spread, radiological, right, which is going to any form of warfare involving deliberate radiation, poisoning, contaminations of an area. So when men are going to desire to die along with, and I want to pull that precept again, because all hell is going to be breaking loose. It's not just going to be a bomb, but boom, right? Then somebody's damn arm is off and half the head is missing. Then they go like this in a circle, like Mortal Kombat, and they fall down. They're going to let loose all of evil that's going to be upon the earth. This is the war of all wars. Right, let me get the book of Revelation. Let me get this quick precept. All of that banned stuff is going down the drain. They're not banning anything no more. It's the war of all wars right now. And when this thing kick off, there's nothing to hold back. It's the book of Revelation. So like it's the book of Isaiah chapter 13 and verse number 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of the nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the battle, the host of the battle. So who's behind all of this? The Most High. He's the one gathering up all of the people for war. It says, which make up CBRN, the military, right, acronym for medical, biological, radiological, and nuclear warfare or weapons which are considered weapons of mass destruction. So when the Lord created the waster to destroy, yeah, that's the bombs most definitely, but that's not the only level of destruction and bombs that are going to happen. Now look at this. Chemical warfare ban. As a result of public outrage, the Geneva Protocol, which prohibit the use of chemical weapons in warfare, was signed in 1925. You think they're going to care about that? It says the horrendous and widespread use of chemical weapons in World War I promoted international efforts to curb the use and production of chemical agents. You think that's going to matter? When men are going to desire to die and civilians are in the streets and all hell is going to be breaking loose in the earth? This is really what's going to go down. What is the VX gas? One of the most lethal, right, chemical weapons ever created is the VX. Compared to the sarin, the VX is 3 times as toxic, if inhaled, and 1,000 times as toxic as if you come into contact with skin. The VX is incredibly persistent in the environment, right? Able to remain lethal up to 3 weeks after being sprayed in the area. Damn, check that out, man. They spray that stuff in the area. You want to move, you want to run, right? You get hit by that stuff, right? I mean, it's all type of plagues that are going to be upon the earth. That's why when you read Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 20, it says, and the rest of men which were not killed by these plagues. The plagues it's just talking about, right, you have to take a jab or a shot by the medicine and you got sick. There are going to be multiple plagues that are going to be upon the earth, given to you by the so-called white man. And the plagues that are hit, every plague is not talking about a type of missile. So the rest of these men that were not killed by the plagues, a bomb is going to kill you. A nuke is going to kill you. A grenade is going to kill you. There are certain things created that are going to be implemented in war also that you have to look out for. Right? Let me go back up to the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 9. And I'm going to start at verse 17 again. And thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacket and brimstone, and their heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. Right, going back up to the breakdown and the way John described it earlier. And out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Right, that's not literal. Right, let me get a quick precept. Esau is likened to a lion. Hey, out of the mouth of Yahushua is going to proceed fire. Is that literal? No. Right, let me get that quick. Out of our mouth is going to proceed fire. In the book of Revelation, 11th chapter. Right, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Is that literal? No. Right, so as it's describing these things, it's parabolically saying out of our mouth, meaning issuing out from amongst, you understand, these warplanes and these vehicles are going to be fire. Because that's what it's traveled by. That's what it's issued by. The back of the planes is nothing but fire. So it's all hip talk. It's Revelation 13 and 10. But only I saw as he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire. And the Lord isn't going to say anything and physical fire is going to come out. This is not a movie. And out of his lips, flaming breath. It's not literal. And out of his tongue, he cast out sparks and tempests. Right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Psalms, chapter 91. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 13. Thou shalt tread upon a lion and adder. Who's the lion and adder? Esau. He's the lion on the left-hand side, and he's the serpent, that old serpent called the devil. And the young lion and the dragon thou shalt trample under feet. So he's likened unto a serpent and likened unto a dragon. Right? So let me get another quick precept too. I want to get First Thessalonians. So like it's 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2 and verse 4. It's the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2 and verse number 4. It said, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So he acts as if he is the Most High, like he is the Lion, right? Like he is the King of Kings. He is the Lord of Lords. The devil and his angels. Everything about Esau is implemented after trying to image after the Most High on the left-hand side. He has a God complex. By these, right, three were the third part of men killed. So it's saying by these three were the third part of men killed. Three meaning a number of completion. And by these three, right, going into the fire, the jacket, and the brimstone. Complete destruction, right, from these warplanes and vehicles. By the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. Right? Let me get another. Let's get the book of Revelation. Right? Like a dragon shoots out fire. Right? They would say like a dragon shoots out fire. A serpent. And the Lord said, make me fire, and all of these people would, in the book of Jeremiah, the 5th chapter. Right? So when you read it, you have to know when things are literal, when things are being described, what it's really saying. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, right? In verse number 5. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth. So fire coming out of your mouth is not always literal to the top of the jet, that the first pointy part is going to issue out physical fire. It's not literal, right? It's just parabolical talk from amongst you. From amongst me right now, what's coming out of my mouth, what's issuing out a voice, a sound, right? Me reading. It could be a spirit hitting you, right? Like the Lord said, the words I speak unto thee, they are spirit, they are life. Out of Yahweh is going to issue out judgment as he speaks it. As fire coming out of his mouth. The law is fire. And devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. Right? It says, for their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents. Because serpents have venomous poison. And their heads like it, and had heads, and with them they do hurt, meaning destroy. It says, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, and we touched the plagues, right? The jacking, right? The fire, the brimstone, the different plagues, the chemical warfare. Right? John isn't going to describe every single thing that Esau has up his sleeve, right? Because, I mean, this chapter is only so long and it's only given so much as a vision. You're not going to understand all things. That's why you have to dive into, like I said, the presidency, look up their kings, look up their policies, look up how these war vehicles issue out, how they issue out, they destroy, right? Their aluminum, right? Platinum, if it's iron, if it's brass, right? What type of plagues would be issuing in war? It says, yet repented not of their works, of their hands, which they should not, Slaki, which should not worship devils and idols and gold and silver and brass, right? Because his God is gold. His God is the world. His God is his sword, right? His God is his devils. And he won't repent. He has to be destroyed. That's why the Lord said, let me get this quick precept. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. So when they see the Lord, they're not going to repent. They're going to wail. They're going to see Yahweh Shai and the holy angels in the air. And like it says in 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, they're going to turn in the midst of battle and durst fight. Right? They're going to be afraid as they fight, but yet cleave unto their idols, their destruction and witchcraft, right? And all evil, right? Because it's really not, I would say, it's not in them to be righteous. The Lord said that which is crooked cannot be made straight. It says, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So they don't repent from anything that they would have done, right? When the Lord comes back. And that's even to the very last hour and second. So book of Revelation, chapter 13, and verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, right? Meaning what? The beast. They're going to yield themselves unto Esau. And they're not going to turn from Esau's gods, his politics, right? His policies, his sorceries, his wine. They're going to drink it all up, and they're not going to repent from anything that they have done. That's what the Lord said in the book of Job, right? That he's going to rain upon him while he is eating. Meaning in the midst of him raping and murdering and killing and eating the riches of the earth and still terrorizing the people, he's going to rain on him, meaning destroy him, right, while he is eating. Meaning he's never stopped eating. He's a covetous man, right? The rich will not suffer you to get any sleep, like it's in Ecclesiastes. It says, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. They're not going to repent. All right, let me get two more on that. The book of Revelation, chapter 18 and 23. Right? Now, this is going into the destruction of America, but the so-called white man moves in the same spirit. Collectively, they all move in sorcery. It says, and the light of a candlestick shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be no more heard at all in thee. Meaning the mirth, the gladness, the fun, the drinking, the days of no. For thy merchants of thy great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Everybody got deceived by sorcery, lies, fornication, and murder. Right, let me get the book of Revelation chapter 3 and verse number 2. It's the mighty book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 2. Be watchful and strengthen the things which remain that are ready to die, for I have not found thy works perfect before Yahweh. Remember therefore how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast, and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. So continue to read, pray, fast, make your body a living sacrifice, right? Stop making excuses. Shoot yourself a man. Sisters, listen to your husbands. Be on fire for the Most High and his beloved son Yahweh Shai. Don't give heed to wicked, seducing thoughts. Right? Continue to have integrity. Be diligent. Stay fervent. Be on fire. And Most High willing, right? This was edifying through the Spirit. I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God Yahweh. Ba Shema Mashiach, Malak Yahweh Shai. Shalom.